My name is Elena, and welcome back to my channel, Speak Crime to Me. So, I really did think we would be taking a break to discuss the Idaho 4 murders, especially since on Thursday we learned that the next court date for Brian will be in June. But interesting enough, quite a bit of interesting information has developed in the last couple of days. So I just want to update you guys on all of this. And disclaimer again that this is just articles and nothing has been confirmed by either parties. So I'm just going to tell you the information that I have heard. Some tweets. I don't think they were necessarily on Twitter, but I'll just call them tweets. So, or let's call them posts. So some posts have surfaced from some of Brian's social media accounts back when he was 16. Right now he's 28, so think, this was many years ago. But interesting enough, it really talked about his mental health challenges. In these posts, he frequently mentions how he has suicidal thoughts, claims that he is unable to feel emotions. He says that he observes his life as living in a video game. He also stated he could do, and this is a quote, "whatever I want with little remorse." He claims he felt no self-worth. He calls his dad he claims that he is terrible to his father, even though that he really does like his father. Other quotes that he put on these posts, again, I'm quoting, "As I hug my family, I look into their faces. I see nothing. It is like I'm looking at a video game, but less," end quote. In these posts, he also really goes through how he feels really disconnected with his life and he's unable to find meaning of his life. So again, a lot of suicidal thoughts that he was feeling. He was diagnosed with a neurological condition called visual snow. So basically what that means is a person's vision is obscured by scattering dots, allegedly diagnosed with this neurological condition. And that led to a lot of his mental health posts and breakdowns. He claims when he would look in the mirror at himself that he saw a sickly, tired, useless, and stupid man. Again, going back to this diagnosis of the visual snow and the symptoms that his absence, he felt like his absence of emotion started back when he was diagnosed with this condition. So I think it's been known that he was addicted to heroin. I think back in when he was high school, he was in and out of rehab, and then I think he got clean and then started college. So friends claim when he got out of college, that's when the whole criminal background that he wanted to study in school came about. So friends say that he wanted to be involved in capturing violent criminals and consulting high-profile offenders. Another friend added, once he became obsessed with this fascination about, wanting to go through the criminal route, that Brian himself would have been fascinated by the Idaho 4 murders, the murders that he is alleged or accused of. An article released in the New York Times that they found these posts. So again, just disclaimer to make sure you do your own research. I just wanted to share all of these interesting facts with you all. So I don't know if you guys have heard about this, and it took me a little while to get my hands on this, and I want to talk about it with you all because it is parts of this article is very disturbing, and you had to pay $9.99 to read through it. It's like 35 pages. So I purchased the article, I read through it. So this article apparently came from some of the detectives that were on site the morning of discovering these murders. So a journalist, I guess, interviewed these, allegedly he interviewed these detectives or cops, and he wrote his article based on this. A lot of us have been asking why, when the 911 call was placed, did they say that there was an unconscious person? So apparently in Moscow, Idaho, all of their 911 calls are routed to Pullman, which Pullman, Washington is where Brian did live. And the calls are handled by civilian employees through a agency called Whitcomb. This agency apparently covers 3 different counties, and Moscow is one of those. So they say that this agency is very understaffed, and then on football weekends, they're very, very busy. So as we know, this occurred on early Sunday morning after a big football game. I think it was the last one of the season. Instead of wanting to cause delays because they are understaffed, they don't really probe for a lot of details with callers. So they assign what they call a generic explanation. An unconscious person is a standard catchphrase that they use. It'd be interesting to see or hear if this ends up being true, because I know that has been a big question of mine and others, like trying to figure out scenarios on why someone would say that there was an unconscious person. So this is how they kind of start the article, like through the 911 call, and then takes you kind of like to present day right now. So this detective police man claims that when he arrived to the house on Sunday morning around 11, that there were a cluster of young people milling outside with the front door open. He said it was very odd because it was extremely quiet when he arrived to this residence. It's mentioned in the article that as they approached the house and they stepped in, that the smell of blood was so strong. Like so strong that they could smell blood from the moment that they walked inside. I think this has been a quoted sentence from the coroner, but apparently she says that when she arrived, it was chaos and there was just lots of blood everywhere. And we also do know from photos that there was blood found seeping outside of the house. I cannot believe that people are sharing this. We do not know if this is confirmed or not, but I'm just going to share what was in the article. That Kaylee apparently was hacked. That her flesh, that there were chunks of flesh basically bulging out of her body. And she had very large punctures. Maddie, they claim, her stabbings or her injuries were very less fatal. So I think Kaylee's dad had alluded to the fact that some of the injuries just didn't match up. I know a lot of people really do still go back to that theory that Kaylee was the target because there's alleged that she had a stalker, or she was telling people she had a stalker. So if this ends up being true about Kaylee's injuries, then we know that she's the person that Brian was after. And it also would make sense because we know that the dog started barking first before even someone said someone's here. So if he was really stalking her, he probably went into her bedroom, Kaylee's bedroom, and that is where her dog Murphy was locked up. And then he probably then went to Maddie's bedroom, and that's where they were together. So one really thing that still sticks in my mind, and I'm sure you guys have heard this before, but Kaylee had actually moved out of that house. She had just gone back to that house for one night because she wanted to go to a party and she wanted to show Maddie her new car that she had just purchased. So it's strange to me that if Kaylee was the target, how Brian knew that she was going to be back into town that night, unless he was like I don't know, unless he was like stalking her all day. But that will be interesting to find out once we get more details, because, you know, she really wasn't supposed to be there either. So let's get into how this article says that they started really diving into this white Honda Elantra. Overnight assistant manager for a gas station had a really weird feeling. She wasn't working that night of the murders, but she started to look back through surveillance tapes. She started going through these surveillance tapes for 2 nights, and then finally on the 3rd night, she captured a white car speeding down the highway. Investigators had a hunch, and they reached out to a retired, now investing real estate guy, and he owned 6 rentals about 3/10 of a mile from the student's house. And he apparently had surveillance camera fixed to his roof. And then this is where they found on his surveillance video the blurred picture of the white Elantra. Allegedly, Xana's dad said that her autopsy showed that she had a lot of bruises on her body. So the coroner said that that is consistent with her fighting back and trying to really save her life. And I know we have heard from the coroner, I think at least 1 or maybe 2 people did have defense wounds. The last thing I want to talk about today is this whole theory about Brian being this account called Papa Rogers. Have you guys heard of this or not? So apparently he had this account after the murders, and there are tons of tweets and things like that that are from this account, that some of them are very suspect and some of them do match up with some of the details that we have learned from these murders. So I want to know, do you guys want me to dive into this whole Papa Rogers thing and give you guys more detail? We'll continue to dig. Let me know if you guys want me to talk more about this whole Papa Rogers. As usual, leave any comments, questions, and I will get back with you. And thank you guys again for joining me.